Coming up next right here on the Fortminorproject channel, I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on how I feel about WWE overall as a whole. You know what's coming up next. Roll that damn intro.
Inside me a light was turned on. Then I was alive. If you close your eyes, your life and naked truth revealed. The dreams you never lived and scars never healed. In the darkness, light will take you to the other side. And find me waiting there, you'll see if you just close your eyes.
Alright, so this is something that I don't really do all that often, if that at all. It's really rare that I do this, and I haven't done this in a while too. Basically, another episode of what grinds my gears, and basically in the way of a rant of what's been going on in WWE as a whole in 2015. And this is something I've been basically holding off for the longest time now, and I've been wanting to get my overall thoughts. And it seems like all throughout the year, for the most part, especially like after WrestleMania season earlier this year, that things have been slowly just getting into just this whole thing with WWE basically and doing their own thing, and not nearly as exciting as it used to be. And in a way, I discussed this on Twitter not too long ago with Chris and Simon, that I'm kind of losing my passion. And for someone like me especially, you guys know me, try to look on the positive side of things, and this isn't me just really having a bad day or anything like that. It's just something that has been gradually growing over time throughout 2015, and I noticed there has been a trend too lately, especially with Raw. Now that it's not really that much something like it's must watch each and every time, and it seems to be the same, and that's the thing that's been going on in 2015 that does need a change going into 2016. And mainly with one of the big things too about what's been going on, and that has been the booking and how it's been lately. Earlier this year, I thought it was fine and thought that 2015 was looking to be actually not too bad of a year, probably even a better year, but that wasn't really the case. I mean, it did get actually a little bit more better around the summertime. Usually that does happen. Certain points throughout the year that tends to happen with WWE, and then after a while it gets to the slow point where it just gets to be average and everything, and that's a thing that shouldn't happen. Throughout the year, it should be different things happening, and to keep fans wanting to actually watch the product a lot more. That's something that should be happening, and not just like, for example, for WrestleMania season and SummerSlam, somewhat Survivor Series, but especially for this year, it wasn't really the same. And everything hasn't been the same lately, so that's really the suckish part about it, and which is pretty fucking crazy. So hopefully things will turn around for that too, for the better. If you look at NXT, it just seems a lot more simpler and a lot more enjoyable, since it's a 1 hour show, and then there's a lot more that is put on there too, even though it just flows a lot more quicker and everything, and how production really is compared to with Raw being 3 hours. And I think that's one of the main things, especially with Raw being 3 hours. Especially when it gets towards, like, I want to say around 10 o'clock, then after that it's basically gets tiring at that point, especially talking about it on Twitter, doing that and interacting with my friends and everything. It gets a little tiring, so maybe they will get to do away with that hour for the 8 o'clock and go back to 9 o'clock again. That would be nice. And if they want to have that third hour, then at least have something for the network and have it as a special and stuff, or expend the pre-show or something like that. I mean, that would be fine, but and just have the rest on the 9 o'clock hour and then beyond. So just to have it change up. And you would think too, like, having all that time for 3 hours, you would have other things go into it, and we don't really get to see that, like with the stars and everything. Sometimes you'd be able to see like some of the same stars without having other people get into it, and just to switch things up a bit too. That's something that they should work on that's just me and how I feel about it. And also another thing, I know with TLC coming up basically tomorrow, with TLC, and then not only that, but for other pay-per-views, and they actually kind of in a way somewhat feel the same. We don't really see the new stages and everything like we used to. I always look forward into seeing that, because with each pay-per-view it actually stood out and it was different. And now that we do have that, basically with the same stage setup and everything, it pretty much feels like watching Raw or SmackDown just on a Sunday night, and with championship titles being defended and all that stuff. So it really doesn't feel that much of a different feel to it, even though, you know, the graphics are a little different, but that's really about it. That's new about it. But yeah, that's something that I really didn't really care for, especially for this year, and maybe they would actually change that and get creative with that. I would like to see something different going for that too, going into 2016, because the only set that's really different is WrestleMania, which is pretty sad on that note. So again, I do pay attention to details like that too. I think that adds a lot more, and it basically has a little bit more of that interest in to see like how the changeup is going to be and how different it can be, and how it's pretty cool to look at too on top of that. And hopefully too, like with not just Raw but for SmackDown too, have different stuff on both shows. That would be pretty cool. I know SmackDown is actually, to me, a little bit more enjoyable, even though not many people do watch SmackDown, because some of the same stuff that are on Raw gets on SmackDown, and it's very rare that we do get to see different things on SmackDown, which is a thing that we should get to see specifically for SmackDown alone, and I think it would be a lot more enjoyable that way. So now with it being on USA Network in 2016, maybe different storylines would be exclusively for SmackDown, and actually have people want to watch SmackDown again. And SmackDown can be good sometimes, and depending on what's happening, it's hit or miss on what's going to be on SmackDown and everything. So I still find enjoyment out of that, and not only that, it's been able to go a lot more quicker, and with it being a 2-hour show, then depending on what's happening, then I do find some enjoyment out of it. So that's another reason why I have been still watching SmackDown. That's just me. I'm sure you guys have your other opinions on how you feel about SmackDown. It would have been nice to see it go live, but unfortunately that won't be happening. It'll just be on the USA Network, and still on Thursday nights, and just on a different network. So hopefully we can get different storylines and other things just to make it stand out more. I would like to see that for sure. And I think the last thing too, just to get it out there, and something that's been in the way pissing me off, and something that definitely needs to change, and that's basically having rematches each and every week. It seems like we get to see the same matches, like for example Ryback and Rusev, or Dolph Ziggler and Tyler Breeze, even though they do have some really nice matches and everything, but after a while it gets kind of old, and then we'll see it again on the pay-per-view. It doesn't really mean as much, so having a different change up with that, you can have that every so often. That would be nice. And another thing too that we don't get to see a whole lot is having a fighting chance for a championship title, like a tournament. We recently had that, which was nice, even though it wasn't the best way to have it, since Seth Rollins was injured and everything, which is unfortunate. But just to have like #1 contenders matches, which we really don't get to see that much, I think would be cool to have, just instead of having a match where two people or whatever will be looking to just have a match, and then whoever was a former champion or whatever, and then who's looking to get the championship will actually win the match and then get an automatic title shot and stuff. You know, it kind of seems a little bit too easy if you ask me. Just to make it more challenging, that's something I would definitely love to see, and I think that would be pretty dope for 2016, and just to create that factor going into it, and have something different each time. I think that would be fine. So that's pretty much like one of the major things that has been pissing me off, if you ask me. So hopefully that would be different going into the new year. So just something that I want to touch bases on how I've been feeling lately. So WWE hasn't been what it used to be. It can definitely be a lot more better now, especially going into the new year. So we'll see on how that's going to be. For 2015, it's been okay to pretty good if you ask me at best, but that's mainly about it on how I feel about 2015 as a whole. So what are your own thoughts and opinions on how you feel about WWE right now as a product, and what would you like to see done more differently? Please feel free to leave a video response. I know we don't really have that much with the whole video response option anymore, but just leave a video response if you would like to, or leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback as always and interact that way. And we'll see where it goes into the new year. So TLC is going to be tomorrow, so with that being said, it should be good at best. Hopefully it does surprise us. And another thing too, with that I didn't really get to mention before I go, is that it feels a little bit too more predictable, so maybe we'll get that unpredictability going out there again. That would be nice, since we don't get to see that too that often, and I like to be surprised, and that's a good thing. Like if I were to predict something that would just happen and it'd be just too predictable, but if I predict something and it doesn't happen but it ends up being a good thing, then that's cool too. So it's very rare that we do get to see certain things like that, and hopefully we get to see a whole new change going into next year. One can only hope, but we'll see if it does happen. So definitely I will be back for my TLC review, and with that being said, enjoy your weekend, guys. Peace.